All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of 407 Rangers. It is your host, Raymond Tapia. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Turn on your notifications. As always, leave a comment. You guys know the drill. So, the Rangers won the 12th pick for this year's lottery draft, but honestly, the most biggest shocker for me, if you ask, is gotta be the Islanders. The Islanders are about to have a brighter future than us, unfortunately, man. Because I, you guys know how I feel about the Rangers. I don't trust their developmental staff because we don't have the same developmental staff like we did 10 years ago. Like we had that Chris Kreider, he was built off the local barn from a decade ago. They did not create Chris Kreider off the staff they have now. Absolutely not. Like if you gotta see the how they did it, look at Alexi Lafreniere for one, number one overall pick. You see how that's turning out, and then look at the Capo Caco situation. He was supposed to be like a really good player here, but unfortunately, it just didn't work out for him here. And out of nowhere, ironically, he's just doing way better off in Seattle. Even though they didn't play in the playoffs this year, they didn't have a great record. You can't tell me otherwise that Cabo Caco did not play better going to Seattle. He definitely did. And that's my biggest pet peeve with the New York Rangers. It's like, you guys can draft all the players you want, but if you still have that same developmental staff that we keep seeing, we're not going to see any progress with these young players because this is their problem. And that's why a lot of the fans are saying the New York Rangers might as well give away the 12th pick to Pittsburgh, which makes a lot of sense because they don't know how to produce the young core correctly. That's my problem. And until that gets fixed, we're not going to see any changes with how they get drafted and how develop. So the only way it gets better is Chris Drury actually wakes up with some senses to his brain and says, you know what? I don't like how these guys are producing the young players. I might just have to get rid of all these guys and start fresh. That's literally the only way you will see something great happen with that part of the organization. Otherwise, it's just going to be another Capo Caco situation going on where they draft him, they develop him, and they just didn't produce him correctly. The same with Lafreniere. They should have just gave him like if they knew he wasn't going to be fully ready, why not send him to the Wolfpack for a year? Or if he starts playing really good there when he got drafted, then you call him up into the Rangers so he has more of an idea and process of how to play NHL hockey. That's why the Lafreniere process isn't working properly because they rushed his development way too soon. They didn't give him the AHL time that he needed to get used to the NHL playing and things like that. And that's why it's taking forever for Lafreniere to develop. Don't get me wrong, I know he has time. He's still young, but it's definitely overdue for him to have like a breakout season. He's definitely got to step it up. And next year for me, it's going to be the biggest prove it for me for Alexa Lafreniere. It's like, if you're this number one overall pick we drafted, prove it. Show me why they drafted you. That's where I'm at with Lafreniere. And guys, I have his jersey. He's a fun player. He's fun to watch at times when he's playing good. But this year was definitely disastrous for Alexa Lafreniere. Fortunately, we all had high expectations from him when he did the contract extension. Now, based on what I've been seeing with the New York Rangers and who they're going to draft, it seems like to me that they're more than likely going after either a forward or a center for this year's draft. Because based on their targets, they have Roger McQueen, Jake O'Brien, Victor Eklund, and Jake Nesbitt as potential draft targets for the draft this year. And they all play center. One of them's like a two-way forward. So that's basically what they're going after. They're probably looking for a center to build around the future because they see that guys like Mika Zibanejad, who's they're supposed to be their top line center, but that last year definitely wasn't playing like it. Is definitely catching up on age. and some of the guys are just getting old. So the range it would make zero sense for them to not go into a younger direction. It just wouldn't because you saw how the young older guys were playing this year. So it just wouldn't make sense not to go to a younger direction with this team. But it's the New York Rangers. They're most likely going to retool. They're trying to build around JT Miller, so you're more than likely going to see JT Miller be around younger players and things of that nature. Now, as far as defensive players, I don't see them drafting defensive men like that because they already have Gabe Perreault playing for them off the ELC move. And EJ Emery was drafted the year before, so he's more than likely going to probably be getting some ice time with the Wolfpack. Or you might just see his debut with the New York Rangers next season. You never know. But EJ Embry is still, I don't know, man. I just don't know. Man, EJ Embry straight out of Compton. That's all I know about him. He's a hockey player from Compton, California. But I still got to look up his highlights and see what his hype is going to be about because when I looked at his stats, he wasn't even scoring like that. But next year's draft is going to probably be better if you ask me because the draft class this year is going to be okay. That's why we're better off just waiting for next year because the draft class for 2026 is going to be way more stacked. There's a lot more promising hockey players for that year as well. So when it comes to the New York Rangers, like I said, I just don't know what Chris Drury is going to do with this draft pick, let alone how they're going to do the developmental process. They did an okay job with Brett Berard. I will give them credit for that. And of course, you had Brandon Hoffman and Matthew Robertson. So I'm not going to stay here and say that they just don't know how to develop all kind of young players because they have a couple of young players that they developed. Even Matt Rempe, even though it took some time for Matt Rempe to actually produce some kind of skill rather than just being the fighting guy, just being the goon enforcer for the team. Rempe is finally showing some kind of light too, so I could definitely see Matthew Rempe having a much better season next season as well. And also Adam Edstrom. Adam Edstrom, before he got injured, he looked like he was about to have a promising rookie season for this team because he was doing absolutely great for us. So that's another young guy that I could definitely see coming back from injury, and he's just going to have a much better productive season. So there's a little bit of hope for the New York Rangers with their young players because some of the players they've already developed, they have been showing what they're going to be in the future. But it's also on how long they're going to keep playing for this team and how Chris Drury is going to go about it because you guys know Chris Drury hasn't been the best when it comes to the young guys because we all know that situation when he went down to Hartford and told that one player like he quit on his team, he's a quitter and things like that. So trust issues is a big factor for us when it comes to Chris Drury and the younger guys because we know he doesn't really do the greatest job. And we'll just have to see what happens. I mean, from those targets, those are more than likely going to be your players that the Rangers are going to be targeting for this year's draft. So, I mean, that's all I pretty much got for you guys. I mean, all I can tell you, if you guys want to have more of an idea of who these players are, just look up their highlights because a lot of them, one of them played in Sweden, so he got highlights from the Swedish Hockey League, and some of them are like Division One hockey players, so they got college highlights and things like that. So, if you guys want to get more of an idea of who these players are, just look up the Roger McQueen and Jake O'Brien, Victor Eklund, and Jake Nesbitt highlights. But we also didn't even get to the other players, but we'll do another video on that too because we also know that they also acquired a couple of younger guys before the season ended. So we'll have more of a video separately on how these guys are going to probably look for the potential future for the New York Rangers. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I mean, that's all I got for today. I'm going to hang it up here because I got to get ready for practice later. And as always, guys, thank y'all for watching and tuning in. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe.